going for Justin. How about this guy? I just want to say right off the bat, let's just kind of address the elephant in the room, that no man under any circumstances in life wants to follow a vibrator. Am I right? And I'm also regretting not telling Justin what my story is about, because I'm also going to tell you about the first time I used a vibrator. So. No, actually, 5 years ago, I was at the beach with my wife and my 2 kids. It was 11 o'clock at night. Kids were in bed. My wife and I had some time together alone. So we did not have sex. We did not get out any vibrator of any shape, like any kind of ocean animal. We did the next best thing, which was we put on Louis C.K.'s 1-hour special, Chewed Up, on Netflix. And for the next hour, we laughed so hard that it took us about an hour and a half to get through that hour special, because we had to keep pausing it to catch our breath. And I could not remember laughing that hard for years before that. And when we were done with it, I said to my wife, I was like, what a gift he just gave us, that hour of laughter. And he looked like he was having so much fun giving it to us. And so we went to bed, and I woke up the next morning at dawn dreaming stand-up comedy bits. And I just got out of bed, grabbed my laptop, started writing them down, and within 5 minutes, I decided I'm going to try stand-up comedy. When I get back to the Triangle, I'm going to find an open mic and try this. Now, as a little background, I had just turned 40, none of your business. I had never aspired to do stand-up comedy in my life. I'd never written a stand-up comedy joke. I had done other creative stuff, cartoons, illustrations, some animation. I'd spent 20 years in advertising. At the time I was painting some, but had never wanted to do stand-up. Even though I had the makings of being a stand-up comedian, I was always a class clown in school growing up. And most importantly, I was the youngest of 4 siblings. So I had been fighting for stage time ever since I came out of the womb. But had never wanted to do it. In fact, just a month before that, I had been at a comedy club in New York. It was only like the 3rd time I'd been to a stand-up club. And I walked out of there saying, there were great comedians on this show, like David Tell. I walked out of there saying, why would anybody ever do this? But here I was, this weird midlife lightning bolt just hit me. So my plan was just to write jokes for 3 months before ever getting on stage. Just cycle through, see if I can get to the best possible stuff. I didn't tell my wife what I was doing, because at that point I had been through so many creative journeys that I was just afraid she was going to roll her eyes at me. So I didn't tell her, but I needed to check out, sort of scope out the open mics in that area. And I needed to do that once or twice a week. So I just told her and my kids that I was doing research for an art project. She bought that. I love her. My kids did not buy that. After a month or 2, they started asking my wife questions. And they were convinced that I was having an affair. So my wife kind of was. My wife finally confronted me and she said, I need to know what you're doing. And I said, okay, I'm going to tell you, but the first thing that comes out of your mouth is going to be really impactful, so be careful what you say when I tell you that. She goes, okay. I go, I'm going to do stand-up comedy. And she goes, that's the dumbest fucking idea. No, she didn't. She actually she said, well, you're nothing if not unpredictable. movie line she laid on me. So that was good enough for me. I kept going. My first time on stage was at LOL Comedy Club in Clayton, North Carolina, across the street from a cow pasture. Could have gone better, could have gone worse. 5 minutes on stage. I did 2.5 minutes on the phenomenon of people at work in a corporate office. Those people that say, "Hey you." You know those people? That's way more laughter than I got. I spent the second half of the 5 minutes doing a bit that got pretty good laughs, but unfortunately I used a politically incorrect term for mentally disabled like 12 times. And, but they still laughed. It was Johnson County, I mean. So, yeah, it was good enough. I still had the bug. I forged ahead. So for the next 4.5 years, I was all in. It was the most creative fun I'd ever had. Of all these different things I'd ever done. I went up every week on stage. Sometimes I go up once, sometimes I go up a few times. You know, I had to juggle it with family stuff. I've done it mostly around here, around the States, some other cities. My kids actually have gotten to see me do it a few times. I had some clean shows. I'll never forget the first time my kids saw me do the stand-up. After the show, my daughter came up to me and said, "Why did you keep talking to audience members like during the show?" And I said, "Oh, it's this thing, it's this comedy thing. It's called crowd work." And she goes, "Huh. Well, it was some shitty crowd work." So I had her stamp of approval. So I was forging ahead. I was not too old to be starting this thing. In fact, my patron saint, like every latecomer to stand-up comedy, was Rodney Dangerfield, who came to stand-up comedy in the form we're familiar with in his late 40s. And his birth name, just so you know, is Jacob Rodney Cohen. Thank you very much. He and I are the only two Jews to ever do comedy. It's pretty amazing. I found there were 3 things that I loved most about doing comedy. One was, in some ways, it's the purest art form that there is. Because it either works or it doesn't. It's binary. You're either laughing or you're not. We can't kid ourselves that it's working if it's not working. I mean, how many times have we been at a music show, even here at King sometimes? Sorry, Steve, it happens. Where you're watching a band and you're nodding your head, looking like you're liking it, and you're thinking, man, this fucking sucks. You can't do that with comedy. You're either laughing or you're not. So I love that. I also love the community of comedians. Because we come from all walks of life, socioeconomic, age, religion, race. But we all have this one thing in common. It's like we're the same species. We all seem familiar to each other. And I had never felt like I was part of a group before this, which was neat. And then the third thing I love is that it feels like I'm performing a service. The same way Louis C.K. performed that service for me 5 years ago, which was different from previous creative endeavors, which always felt like I was trying to get something from the audience. With stand-up, I feel like I'm trying to give something to the audience. So that's something I couldn't have done at a younger age, I don't think. The biggest kind of thing you have to deal with in comedy is fear. There's kind of 2 levels of fear. One is just that initial fear of just walking onto the stage, that threshold, which once you just hop over that, you realize it's not as big a deal as you thought it was. It's very scary from the outside. The second level, which is more insidious, and it takes years to kind of root out, and I'm still in the process of rooting out, is the fear of being here. It's essentially the fear of silence. Because what I'll do, and what anybody will do in that situation, is fill that silence in with all the worst stories I have about myself. That's what I'll imagine they're thinking. That makes you like go too fast and do all these things on stage and burn up all this energy with fear that you could otherwise be using just being in the moment and creating and thinking of something funny on the spot. So what I've learned in this process is that fear is something that you can wrestle with, that you can learn from. The one thing you shouldn't let it do is to keep you from trying in the first place, no matter how old you are. Thanks a lot. Adam Cohen.
The Wham Bam Glitter Glam folks have asked me, just by round of applause, how many folks are going to stick around for that show or planning on it? Good. We're going to push the after party to Neptune's, and if you want to come back, we'll come back up to, what's that? Or Ruby Deluxe. There's something going on tonight. Drag show. Okay, if you want a poster, come see me at the exit. Thank you so much to our storytellers. Thank you for all of our late bloomers. We will see you June 12th at Ryan Middle Theater. Thanks, guys.